everyone, it's Callie again. I've got one more One Piece starter deck for you. This is actually a special film edition one. Not part of like the four main starter decks that you might see if you're planning on going to a pre-release event here in the next couple of weeks. But still another special starter deck to kind of tie in with the film Red that I believe is out now. I actually haven't had a chance to see it just yet, assuming that it is. I've been very busy, so I haven't really been able to keep up with it, but I really want to see it when it does, when I do have a chance. Let's just take a look at this here, this special film starter deck. So I actually haven't had a chance to play this deck. We built proxy decks of all the other starter decks and have played around with them a lot, but we never did with this one. And ever since it came in, we've really just been kind of too busy to actually be able to play with it. So I'm excited to actually try it out, but unfortunately I can't really talk about how strong I think this deck is. There are some really cool sounding cards in here though, so we will kind of talk about those, see what some of them can do. Um, and yeah, we'll just get right into it. First up here, we got our leader Shanks. Love that artwork on that Shanks there. Like most leaders, he's got 5,000 with 5 life there. And then his ability, during your main phase, once per turn, you can go Dawn -3. And that allows your film characters to gain 2,000 power during your turn. So a good way to kind of buff up some of your characters. This deck plays a lot of characters that have that special film attribute on them. Don't know how good this might be with a lot of other cards. I don't know if there's a lot of other film cards in the main set that's going to come out later this year in December. But still kind of a fun card for this deck specifically. Put them aside. And again, I haven't seen the films. So I might mispronounce some of these names. I believe this is Ayan is how you pronounce her name. She's a 4 cost for 5,000. And then when you play her, you can add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So basically, you accelerate 1 Dawn. You don't get to use it this turn, but pretty good way to kind of accelerate Dawn, especially since this is another one of those purple decks that does a lot of minus Dawning, plus Dawning. Very kind of fun style of play. She seems like a pretty good card for a deck like this. Honestly, potentially a decent card for various purple decks. Get 4 of those. Next up here, you've got Anne. Anne is a 2 cost for 3,000, and she is a blocker. Just a basic blocker, nothing else going on there. But hey, 2 costs for 3,000, not a bad blocker. Get 4 of those. Next up is Yuda. She is our other hollow card in this set. Daughter of Shanks, she looks great there. She's a 4 cost for 5,000. She's also a blocker, so another good blocker here. Very cheap. Great card. She can also, on block, go Dawn -1, and then she can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost 5 or less. So, fantastic card, honestly. This card seems great. The ability to not only have a fairly cheap blocker that's pretty strong, like, I say out of all the other decks that I've gotten, like, Queen is probably the closest, which I think is 5 cost for 6,000. Great cheap blocker. And then the fact that when she blocks, for just Dawn -1, you can rest another one of their cards, essentially potentially negate 2 attacks from your character from the opponent. Great. This is a great card. Get 2 of those. Next up here, we've got Karna. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's a 2 cost for 3,000. And then during your main phase, once per turn, you can rest this character and then trash 1 film type card from your hand. And if your opponent has more Dawn than you, you can add 2 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest them. So, interesting card. Really not sure what to think about this one. Kind of a lot going on there. You do have to use one of the cards from your hand, basically trash a card to accelerate 2 mana that you can't use this turn. I mean, this deck is playing around with Dawn a lot, so I do see that potentially being useful. Would have to play with it, though, to really kind of know how I feel about it. But definitely interesting card. Do see some potential there. All right, probably going to butcher this guy's name. I think it's Guild Tessaro, something like that. He's a 5 cost for 6,000, so, decent stat line there. And then when he's attacking, you can go Dawn -2 and draw 2 cards. So, really interesting effect. He's one of those cards that makes me think that, this definitely could be a really good card for this deck. The ability that every single time that you're attacking, you can draw 2 cards. At least in these starter decks, I have not seen a ton of draw, so even though you do have to go Dawn -2 with him, still, that's potentially a great way to keep getting more cards in your deck. You don't want to go overboard with it, otherwise you won't have anything to be able to play next turn, but very interesting card. I think you get 2 of these guys. Yep. Next up is Gordon here. Just a basic 1 cost for 3,000. Not much going on there. Similar to a lot of other basic cards we've seen in these starter decks. We'll just put him aside there. You do get 4 of him. He has a film card, so could be something you trash for some of those other effects that we talked about. Next up, we got Shiki. Really cool card here. 6 cost for 7,000. Another pretty good stat line there. And then if you have 8 or more Dawn on your field, this character cannot be KO'd in battle. So you attack with this, and your opponent tries to attack it back. You've got 8 Dawn. This guy cannot be killed. Like, this seems like a really cool card. A great way for purple decks to be able to get an attacker that your opponent has a hard time dealing with. They have to use an event to take this thing out or something else to kind of deal with this guy. Otherwise, you just got a 7,000 attacker that can go in every turn, that can be buffed up with some Dawn. Seems like a really great card. Next up, we got Scarlet here. Scarlet is pretty much just a basic card, 2 costs for 3,000. The only thing that really makes it a little bit different is it does have a trigger there. Basically, the trigger just lets you play the card if you draw it when you take a damage. So, kind of interesting, I guess, not much to talk about there. Next up, we've got Z here. And yes, his name is just Z. So he's a 7 cost for 8,000 attack there. And he's got actually an effect here that I haven't seen on any other cards, at least in starter decks. I'm sure it's a mechanic that's used a lot more in the actual set that's going to be coming out. But if this character battles with a strike attribute, so that's what these little symbols up here denote. There's different attribute types. You've got like strike and a few different other ones. Honestly, I haven't paid too much attention to that because that's never come into play in any of the other decks that I've played. But again, if this character battles with a strike attribute character, he gains 3,000 power during this turn. So he seems like a great way to be able to kill some powerful strike characters when he's attacking. And then once during your main phase with his ability here, you can go Dawn -1, and he gains 2,000 power during this turn. So kind of a really strong card that you can buff up really easily. Seems like a great way to be able to kill a really big strike creature. And another one that I feel like I would need to play with a little bit to see how it feels, but it seems on the surface like a pretty good card. Ooh, there's actually even more hollows in this one. I think in the other starters you only get 1, so this is kind of cool to see. So this card seems really cool. 8 cost for 10,000. Pretty awesome stat line. I think I forgot to say his name. This is Douglas Bullet. And then during your main phase, once per turn, you can go Dawn -4. Kind of expensive. But then you can rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters that cost 6 or less. Then this character gains double attack. That honestly seems crazy. Like, yes, he is expensive. Yes, you do have to go Dawn -4. But the ability to potentially rest 2 blockers that your opponent has, or maybe rest 2 cards that you like really want to be able to kill on their side and get double attack. I mean, this card seems great. Great way to potentially finish off a game with a really huge late game play. Might be hard to get out because you are potentially doing a lot of minus dawning with this deck, and would have to kind of play to see how it feels to actually play this card, see if I can actually ever get him out. But he seems on the surface, again, very, very strong. Like that card. Looks pretty cool, too. So this is another character. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm probably going to butcher it. Bakaret, I think. Something like that. Just a basic card. 3 costs for 5,000. Nothing to talk about there. You do get 4, though. Next up, we've got Bins. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's a 4 cost for 6,000. Again, just another basic card. Get 4 of those. Then we've got the Buena Fiesta. He's a 1 cost for 0. Obviously not what you care about here with the stat line. He also has plus 2,000 when you're using them to help buff up somebody. But then on play, you can look at 5 cards, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 film type card from there, other than another copy of this guy, and add it to your hand. Then you place the rest on the bottom of your deck. So he's kind of similar to Jin Rummy in the kid deck, unless you're going to go find other cards that you can't keep using them over and over again. Really nice card to just play for one. Go find a card, hopefully, that you need in the top 5. You get, I believe, 4 of those. Next up, we've got Dr. Indigo. Another basic card, 2 costs for 4,000. Nothing really to talk about there. Okay, then we've got our first event card here. So this is a 3 cost. It's called Lion's Threat Imperial Earthbind. This can be played during your main phase. If you use Dawn -2, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost 5 or less. So just a nice kill card. Kind of good in these starter decks here to be able to kill a creature that you really need to that costs 5 or less. The trigger there lets you add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So if you do get it from taking damage, can accelerate a mana potentially, or a Dawn rather, to be able to maybe do a little bit more on the next turn. Or just pick up the card and use it on the next turn to KO something that you might need to kill. Get 2 of those. Next up, we got another event card. This is the Union Armado. This is a counter card. So when you're being attacked, you can counter up to one of your film type leaders or characters gains 4,000 power during this battle. And then if that character, or that card rather, is a character, that character cannot be KO'd during this turn. So it makes character cards invincible from battle, and also just makes your leader a lot harder to kill in general. So pretty cool card there. Also has a nice little Dawn effect. Add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active if you get it as a trigger. I think you get 4 of these. And then that's it. Then you just got your Dawn. And that is the special Shanks Film Edition starter deck. Seems like a really fun deck. I can't wait to actually have a chance to play this one. Really love purple. I think purple so far is kind of my favorite type of deck. I really like all of the plus Dawn and minus Dawn that it's doing. Feels really fun for me to play. So looking forward to playing this one. Might give some thoughts on this again, revisit it once I've had a chance. But that's it. That'll wrap us up. If you did like the video, be sure to give it a like. Also be sure to subscribe as well. And be on the lookout for more Pokemon and One Piece card game stuff in the future. And I'll see you next time.